guys, it's me, Jason, your Los Angeles contractor and developer, and this is Buy, Build, Sell. On today's episode, we are going through the process of stucco. We're gonna go over the scratch coat. We're gonna go over a polybond coat that we're putting on the stucco. That's gonna protect from cracking, and we're gonna be showing you how to install a veneer brick or tile or stone onto a house as we're doing it right now, and I'll kind of show you the walkthrough on that. There are 3 phases to stucco: the scratch coat, the brown coat, the finish coat. We're doing 4. Scratch coat, brown coat, a fiber mesh, let's see what it's called. It's called a fiber mesh bonding agent, essentially, that we're going to be putting on the scratch coat that's going to hopefully prevent cracking from happening beyond once it's dry. So we're going to get the scratch coat on today. Brown coat goes on. We're going to let that cure for about, I don't know, anywhere between 2 weeks to maybe 20 days. Let that cure, crack as much as it needs to, and then we're going to put that fiber mesh bonding agent on it to kind of prevent more cracking from happening on those cracks, and put a whole wrap of it across the whole entire house. Once that's complete, we'll put the stucco on top of that coat, and then we have a beautiful, perfect looking house. So let me show you a little bit closer up in details to what we're starting today. Today is the scratch coat process. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cover the windows, make sure we're not getting anything dirty, anything beyond what it needs to get messy, right? Then we're going to be shooting the scratch coat onto the house. You don't have to necessarily the scratch coat onto the house. You can actually just apply it with the regular trowel. This is just a faster method of doing it, and on this many yards of shooting, you're better off just shooting it, because it's going to happen. I mean, probably going to take us the day to shoot this house. To apply it by hand would probably take all week. So major difference in cost, just labor wise. Okay, so you can see we have that scratch coat going on up at the top, and what you're going to see on the b-roll of this is you're going to see the scratch coat getting shot onto the stucco and the wire lath, and then you're going to see someone coming right up behind it and troweling the scratch coat. The reason we're doing a trowel is because that's going to let the concrete dry with these ridges, with these ridge lines. That's a great way to bond concrete together by creating pockets for the concrete to fill into and to really harden and secure itself in those spaces. That's going to allow the second coat, the brown coat, to really adhere well to the scratch coat and create it from separating or getting loose. We put up our protective tarps, that way our neighbors don't get mad at us and start screaming at us for not protecting their house. That finish is actually going to come to you just right off that corner, and we're filling in from the bottom of this all the way out, so you can see how much space we're actually filling up if you went this way or this way. Oh my God, we're almost done. This is incredible. Jeez, this is going to be gorgeous. So it's actually really impressive how fast this house got shot. Like I was saying before, there are so many different types of ways of building something and doing something. And sometimes the more expensive way is the faster, cheaper way. And the way that you kind of think of that is it might be really expensive to rent the machinery and to have probably 10 guys on site just constantly shoveling, and you're having 4 guys up on the scaffoldings and one after another, and it's a lot of labor and a lot of rental equipment time. But the fact that you're doing it in one day is going to be way less expensive on the subcontractor than if he had to sit there and do something for the whole entire week just to put it on the lower half of the front to finish. So it's not that much to do. So they're going to finish up the front, clean everything up, and they're out of here. They'll let this dry for about, I'd say today is Monday, so they're going to let this dry Tuesday, Wednesday, and they're going to start shooting the brown coat on Thursday or Friday, and then they're going to let that cure for 2 weeks to 20 days before they start putting on the fiber mesh and putting on the finish. So what I'm doing right now is I'm actually watering down the pool. I'll stop the water so you can hear me a little bit. What we're doing right now is we actually wet down the pool probably about 2 to 3 weeks after we shoot it, to try to elongate the curing time on that pool. The longer it cures, the harder it's going to be, the more PSI you're going to get out of it, the stronger it's going to be, and the less likely it'll be to crack later or have any issues, 20, 30 years down the line. So we try to continue that process. You can actually see the shotcrete has all of those little kind of pockets of holes. So all of those holes, we're actually putting water into that. We're getting that filled with water, and it's kind of curing from behind it. So you can actually hear it finding those holes and getting in there. It's actually pretty cool to see it. I haven't had to do this in a long time. Usually the guys on site do it, but I'm here, so I might as well do it. Let's go talk about stucco. Okay, so right here, this is the best corner to kind of see the two differences. We'll go away from the guys that are working right now, but I really want to show you the two spots. So you have this right here, which is the scratch coat, and that right there, which is the poly bond, okay? So keep these two in mind. You can see clearly one has, you know, this white or cloudy texture, then you have this gray texture from the scratch coat, okay? Let's go walk away from the guys so we can talk in private. What you're seeing today is you're seeing the scratch coat's been completed. The scratch coat that we see in the first shot is wavy, unorganized, and kind of all over the place, right? And then now today we're seeing the brown coat. Now, unfortunately, we didn't get the shots of the brown coat getting done, but you can see the house now is completely coated in the brown coat, and you can actually see it's super smooth. Like, well, you know, we'll take you to the other side of the house where you can see that being done. But essentially, completely flat, completely level, completely smooth, right to the point where once we put that smooth coat of stucco on there, we're not worried about level at all. We know that we can place the stucco right on top of there, and it's going to be perfect. So the brown coat is really what takes the detail to where it needs to be. So on the finish, you're not worried about detail necessarily. I mean, you are worried about some details, but most of the time you're not worried, oh, is this wall level or flat or straight or plumb, whatever it could be. It's exactly where it needs to be. That finish coat's just gonna go right on top of it and you're done. Now, what you're seeing here on top of the brown coat is actually a polybond layer. The polybond is some sort of, essentially, I don't know the sciencey words for it, but essentially it's almost like a glue. We're also putting a fiber mesh roll on top of the brown coat that allows to act almost as like a rebar, right? Or structural integrity for the stucco. So what it's doing is, like you can see, it kind of has this stretchy ability. And what it's doing is that's laying against so if you can imagine, you have the brown coat, then you have the finish coat, and in between this you have this fiber mesh with the polybond, and it's one side's gluing to one side, the other side's gluing to the other. So hopefully it gives that ability to move, right? And just sort of tug a little bit. So if cracks ever do happen on stucco, which if you've done stucco before, you know that it happens. It's almost unavoidable. Even when you do this, it's almost unavoidable. But hopefully the fracture cracks that happen are tiny and small and pretty much unseen by the eye unless you're like up close to it. So this does do a lot of protection against that. It does help a ton. This is really good for finished smooth stucco. That's my trick to getting stucco that doesn't crack. Let's go back inside and through to the front and talk to the tile guys about how we're getting that done. Do you remember doing the framing for this house and like the steel that we had in this house? Remember all those episodes? Remember doing the slab and the footings? Well, if you don't, go ahead, subscribe to the channel and find out how we're building this house. You can literally go back to the beginning, see everything we've done from grading on, and then actually get to a point where you're gonna see this house being finished. That's the reason to subscribe. So if you want more information, do you wanna see how houses are getting built today, go ahead, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and of course, let me know in the comments what kind of content you wanna see. I'd love to put it out there for you. Here we are looking at the two towers on this project. Now, the two towers are essentially symmetrically placed right in front of the doorway. You have two at the same height, same detail, same everything. You have 6 windows, and we are going to talk about getting this done. So there's a lot of things you kind of look. It looks really simple. It looks super easy. What's to question about it? Put the tile on the stucco, or actually this is on the brown coat, and keep on working. But the truth is actually no. Because you're dealing with multiple sizes, you're dealing with maybe inconsistencies, right? Like a window could be 1/8 off, and on siding, you won't really notice it. On smooth stucco, you definitely wouldn't notice it because nothing is forming a line for you. But all of a sudden, this is a stone that we're using, and you can actually see those lines. Those lines, though this is actually gonna be a dry pack install, when we cross from here to the other side, it doesn't line up. So these are the kind of the things you have to think about. And it's actually not just like, okay, let's just start our layers and keep on working. Actually constantly resetting level, okay? So you can actually see right here, even though we're not putting grout in the install, we're actually keeping spacers to allow us to continuously set the level, to continuously adjust as needed, because things aren't always going to line up perfectly straight as they continue. We try to adjust it at the bottom to make sure that everything else flows up evenly. I mean, imagine you get to the top of the roof line and you have the two ends of the fascia, and one tile is 2 inches below the fascia and the other tile is actually touching the fascia. You clearly know something isn't level or right. So it's really important that we take these lines and we actually snap them. We set levels, we set lines, we set multiple markers on different locations to make sure that as we continue to raise each stack, we're continuously checking to make sure that everything lines up. And if we see that there's an inconsistency, if we see that there's something that isn't quite right, we're using those spacers probably 2-3 feet below where the issue is to slowly adjust it and make it seem like it's completely unnoticeable. Questions, comments, concerns? Let me know below. I'll see you there. We have about 30 days worth of here to figure out this full episode. So if you can see this episode, you know that we're taking a lot of time to film this one and that we're trying to put in as much content for you as possible. So of course, don't forget, subscribe, comment, let me know you're here. Press that like button. It really helps the algorithm on my videos. And I'll see you on the next video.